One thing I've found to be indispensable in the creation of my own RPG is the data merge function. Now, I use two programs to do data merge. I use Airtable and I use Affinity Publisher. Between those two things, I find it very easy to put together a lot of data in a kind of a general spreadsheet format and transfer that into something that is pretty decent looking. You know, I'm not a designer, but it comes together pretty quickly. So whether I'm making character sheets or I'm making foes, of course, my game wouldn't even be possible without cards. I've also made tokens. So all this stuff is just things that I've put together into a basic sheet format and then imported into Publisher. And I want to take a moment to show you how to do that. Okay, so the first program I want to talk about is Airtable. Now, Airtable is a user-friendly database program. It does look a lot like a spreadsheet, but it does some additional things that like Google Sheets or something like that can't quite do. So I recommend it. Anyway, the first thing you want to do is you want to go through and populate your sheet with everything that has an individual value. So like your characteristics, your background abilities, skills, things like that. You want to put everything into one field. It is okay to use different fields or to use like blocks of text and stuff, but in general, everything gets its own field. The second thing that you can see is you can link to images. So the way you link to an image is you find the image you want to use, and there's an option to copy as path, and you just copy that into its individual field. So that's the basics of how you populate all the data that you're going to be working with. The second thing you want to do is, well, so that's what you can do with any sheet, and then as long as it's can be exported into a CSV file, you can use whatever program you want to use. Airtable will allow you to use reference fields to bring data from a different table into the one you're working with. So what that means is I can create something like a list of weapons over here that has all of this data, and as soon as I plug one of those things into a character, a lot of this information auto-populates. So, you know, we've got a rapier here. It shows you what the range on that weapon is and some special rules for it, kind of its armor piercing capabilities here. So those are all things that I can go into weapons and change and come back here, and it will automatically update all those for every character that has that thing selected. So I've got that for weapons, I've got that for armor, I've got it for all my special abilities. All those things are I work in different areas when I'm updating the characters, and that's kind of the biggest one of the biggest time savers, is that you're not having to go back through characters and not wondering if you've missed things. Everything's automatically updated. Once you've import or brought in a item, so we've got this is a reference field here. Links to a different record. These are what are called lookup fields. So these are the things that will be brought into this table along with this initial selection. So if I don't have a reference table for the weapon range and for the weapon damage, it's not going to then be updated with the character. So I got to create these additional lookup fields. So those are kind of the main things for references. Once you've, one more thing on Airtable, you can see here there's all these views. So I've got these things divided down into, so like I can look at my character skills in one area, so I don't have to keep flipping back and forth through a huge amount of data. You know, here's my character gear. I want to make sure I have images for people. I can put in images, and these are just views. So it doesn't change any of the overall data. All that is still in here, but when I do things like if I'm looking at certain characters that are in a specific scenario that I'm running, those are all in one place. And if I have and ultimately what I do is I just create a print file. So this is my final get ready to export. So you can see these are checked. These are the ones I'm working with. And the final thing you do with Airtable is you download your CSV file. So instead of downloading all the characters that I have, I'm just going to import a couple at a time. So it's easier to work with. And that's it for Airtable. Now that you have your CSV file downloaded, it's time to talk about how to import that into your art program. I'm just going to be going through Infinity Design here, and you'll get a sense for what that looks like. So this is just the basic character sheet. I'm not going to get into layout and stuff like that. There's way better people than me for that stuff. But the basics of the CSV import are, the first thing you want to do is going into Window here in Data Merge Manager, and that'll bring up this screen. So what you get here is kind of basic functionality. You're going to select your CSV file that you just created and update that. And now you can see what that looks like with the Preview Record button. So from there, you can click through your various sheets or whatever you've put together, if it's characters or monsters or things like that, and you'll get a sense for what that looks like. So that's pretty straightforward. So how you populate this is with the references and fields. So if we turn that off, you can see that goes away. I'll turn that back on. So again, Window, References, Fields. And you see that section over here gives you all of everything that you've put into your sheet. So if you have a lot of information, it's all going to be there in one go. So the way you fill these things out, and let me shoot back to Preview with Record. So you just you can see here, like this character has might right here. If I delete that, that goes away in the preview. But over here, you use this left-hand column. So by clicking on might, sometimes it's a little bit wonky. Oh, gotta get into the area you want to be. I can put that back in there. And then from here, you can format these things in any way you want. So again, the best way to work with it is in this view. You don't want to use the other view for pretty much anything unless you try to troubleshoot something. So I'll just make that bold again. So that's kind of the basics of how you get all of that stuff in. So you're going to click into every single area that you have a thing and click on the corresponding line that you want to appear there. So after you've done that, the next step is to generate what you've got. Once you've generated everything, you're going to end up with one sheet per line in your document. So this is what the step where you really do all your kind of fine details, like making sure your picture frames fit. You're going to see that some things maybe worked for most of the characters, but you're going to want to modify them down just a little bit for other characters that maybe it doesn't fit. You know, all the text doesn't fit within the box or the format that you've put together. So you're just going to go through and try and make all that look a little bit better. Unfortunately, CSV does not hold like formatting for line returns and bold and italics. So anything like that you want to put in that was in line, you're going to want to go ahead and do individually. So you know, these are just kind of the things you have to do to make this work, but overall it saves you a ton of time, and hopefully that's helpful.